when I think about what you're saying about the NBA and some of the precautions that they're taking, it gets me to thinking about something that Adam Silver has been talking a little bit about PSAs and letting the people know that it's okay to get this vaccine. And hey, why not we just use NBA players who can use their platforms and, make people feel more comfortable with getting the vaccine. Now, I like the NBA and what they're trying to do, but there's the shady side of me that's thinking this is a little shady.
Yeah.
There's a side of me that thinks that there's a significant benefit in the NBA going forward in this direction, because if they're talking about you getting vaccinated, what better example to set than you yourself and your league getting vaccinated? And if that's the case, that means the NBA may have fewer cases of COVID positive tests. That means you could potentially open the doors up a little sooner for maybe fans to be in attendance, and their overall numbers would look better. But they're doing this under the guise of this is in the best interest of the public. Are you buying that, Gary? Are you buying that this is another altruistic, awesome, wonderful idea that the NBA is putting out there because there's such good, honest, hard-working, just bottom of the heart philanthropic individuals and groups? Are you buying this, Gary Washburn?
I partially buy it, yes.
Gosh.
Because one, I do think the NBA doesn't want to jump the line because it's a bad look to jump the line on the vaccine. Now, if you try to convince people that NBA are public health workers, or not public health workers, service workers, where they're providing service to the community, and that in order to provide this entertainment, they need to be all vaccinated, you can make that argument, although that would be, to me, quite an unpopular argument, considering the people that don't have it, because you want to get to the first line workers, and you want to get to the police officers, the people working in hospitals, and you want to get to the older folks, the 60 and up people, and make sure they're okay. And then you can maybe think about athletes and people who do public, presentations and things like that. But I also think, Sherrod, what we're not understanding is that there's a lot of people who are scared to take this vaccine, especially people of color, especially African Americans, especially since 60 or 70 years ago, and I was discussing this with Cedric Maxwell, the Tuskegee experiment, and that they injected young Black men with syphilis to see how they would react. And they paid them money, and there's a movie about it from the 90s. I think they went straight to HBO. So I know, Kwani, that's before your time, but check it out. It's called Miss Evers' Boys, with Alfre Woodard, who played the nurse who was injecting them. And it was an extremely sad story. And I think there's still people who feel like they don't trust the U.S. government with any type of injections and any type of, so I do think it does serve a purpose for players. And now you see the commercial with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar saying, hey, get vaccinated, because there's going to be people that are like, no, I'm not putting nothing, you're not killing me. And now, is that the right philosophy to have? I don't think so, but I can understand it, especially the older you are, the more you distrust the government, the more things you've seen of what the U.S. government has done and all these conspiracies. And you can turn on Netflix and watch all these specials about how the government set people up, and Nixon, and there's the MLK FBI documentary out now. I mean, there's all types of stuff to get you all fired up about America, right? So I do think it does serve a purpose. I'm not going to say the NBA is trying to hustle us, but do I think that they want to get in front of the line to get vaccinated because they want to continue the season? Of course. I think Major League Baseball is going to want to do the same thing. The NFL is almost done with its season. But I do think that it's important for some of these folks to come public and say, hey, it's okay to do this vaccination.
Yeah, but again, the skeptic in me is looking at how this benefits so many people in the NBA if they start doing more and more of these PSAs where athletes have actually been vaccinated. Which, again, the point that you make about raising awareness, Gary, is a valid one, and it's legit. but I can't get past the fact that the NBA at the end of the day is about making money. And they've lost a ton because of COVID-19 restrictions, limitations, and the virus in general. Frankly, this is a means of potentially fast tracking their way of getting some of that money back. And I can't ignore that, but I will rent the idea that they're doing this for the common good. But I can't ignore the fact that they're trying to get that cheddar too.
Of course. I mean, but also I think you have it's not even the games, it's getting fans into the games.
Mm-hmm.
But let's be honest, if TD Garden or wherever said, hey, we're opening up to fans, how many people are really going to show up? Like, really? It's going to, I mean, unless they offered free tickets and free food. Okay. Now they could do that. Could do that. If they offered free tickets and free food.
Some chicken wings.
Huh? Okay. Yep. How many people would come out and go to the game and risk being potentially infected? Now, you'd have, let's say they wore a mask, and let's say they said, okay, we're only going to let 6,000. Yeah. Like, you still would have people like, no, man, I'm not going. Like, even diehard Celtic fans. So I do understand your skepticism, Sherrod, but I also think that it's about getting fans into the arena, and I don't think that's going to happen this season.
Mm-hmm. I agree with Gary, though. It's definitely twofold. I understand, Sherrod, that we're looking at these players. They are essentially $1 million assets. So the teams would be like, all right, I'm trying to protect my asset. But we look at the numbers from the COVID-19 cases that affected the Black and brown community, and obviously the historical disparities when it comes to Black communities. And you're like, okay, these are majority Black players, and whether we want to admit it or not, they do have influence on our society. So if you do have them set up as a prop essentially and take the vaccine and kind of prove like, okay, we can do this, Black and brown people, you should consider at least taking the vaccine. Again, I understand the skepticism, but I could see both sides. And I definitely do think it is important that they are, if they're doing it for the right reasons, that they continue to use their platform to do so.
Yeah, I'll buy that. But again, I'm looking at them with a side eye as they go about doing it. I'm just letting y'all know.
As you should with any billion-dollar corporation. They're always going to be about their money, whether there's some good intent hidden behind it.